John Carpenter is no stranger to this channel, as I reviewed his controversial supernatural horror film Vampires last year. As Valentine's Day is approaching, I thought it only appropriate to review another Carpenter film, with this one having strong themes of romance as opposed to being spooky. Starman is a 1984 science fiction romance film starring Jeff Bridges of The Big Lebowski fame in the titular role. I haven't often seen science fiction and romance combined as a genre blend, which makes this film particularly intriguing to me. While many popular sci-fi films and franchises include elements of romance, I haven't seen too many where romance is a strong focus of the story. The first time I watched the film was during a period where I was feeling down, and it happened to be on TV. It really cheered me up, and since then I've always liked the film and seen it as a sort of comfort film. But am I viewing Starman through rose-tinted glasses? Let's find out. Without further ado, on with the review.
Polos is life, 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 sleep all night and then Polos is life.
Starman begins with the audio from a broadcast of the Voyager 2 probe's launch into space. This will be relevant later, as the probe contains some information about Earth and humanity, greetings in many different languages, and an invitation to come and visit. We see the probe travelling through the further reaches of space, and the charming 80s effects here remind me of some of the visuals from Lynch's Dune, which was actually released around the same time, funnily enough. We cut to our protagonist, Jenny Hayden, a recent widow watching a home video of herself and her late husband, Scott, singing together. While the fact that Scott has died is elaborated on more later, this is a quick way of showing and not telling us that information at the start of the film. Jenny is visibly upset. You can put the pieces together. Jenny is played by Karen Allen, and Scott is played by Jeff Bridges, who plays a dual role as the Starman later on. A very 80s looking UFO heads towards the Earth, and is detected by the United States government. Assuming it's some kind of weapon, they try to blow it up. Does that come as a shock to anyone? Thankfully, the Starman manages to land his ship near Jenny's house, and appears in some kind of orb-like form. This gives him the ability to snoop around, and he assumes the visage of Scott by taking a lock of his hair. This transformation ends up waking Jenny, who, in a perfectly reasonable response to finding an alien morphing into her dead husband's doppelganger, promptly faints. The baby animatronic doesn't look so bad, but the metamorphosis from a child to an adult is definitely disturbing and looks a bit off. Must be John Carpenter's experience with horror, I guess. The Starman also takes this opportunity to take a crash course on human relationships from the videotapes of Scott and Jenny, which will definitely be useful later. Somehow this gunshot doesn't wake Jenny though. Must be a deep sleeper. With that being said, Jenny does awaken once Starman steps outside, and she sees him sending a rendezvous message using one of the strange metal-like spheres that he's arrived with. Starman has 7 of these, and will use each of them to do cool magic stuff beyond human comprehension. It's alien tech and all that, you don't have to explain it that much. Upon seeing this, Jenny attempts to leave, but the Starman stops her and requests that she take him from where they are, Wisconsin to Arizona, where his people will take him back home. Now, I'm not an expert on the geography of the United States, but that does seem like quite the journey, especially by car. I hope they take some kind of breaks along the way. Jenny attempts to question the Starman, but he just responds by singing Satisfaction by the Rolling Stones, which isn't actually listed on the Voyager 2 Golden Record track list, but I guess it was just used in the film because it's a catchy song. The poor woman doesn't exactly take kindly to this, and suddenly swerves the car, almost crashing into a truck driver. When the driver gets out to confront the pair, she gets out and starts accusing the Starman of kidnapping her, which isn't exactly untrue. In a bizarre, yet strangely endearing exchange, the Starman responds the only way he knows how.
I send greetings.
When the driver understandably tries to confront the Starman with a wheel brace, the alien uses one of those grey spheres to make the wheel brace overheat, followed by a nearby explosion. Meanwhile, a government research team, assisted by SETI scientist Mark Sherman, discovers the Starman ship. This can't end well for our alien friend. As they continue to drive, Jenny explains that Starman having a gun in his lap makes her a little bit jumpy, explains what her wallet is for, and continues to be disturbed by Starman resembling Scott. Starman responds that he looks like Scott so Jenny wouldn't be a little bit jumpy, and this demonstrates his naivety. Someone looking exactly like someone you know would be disturbing, unless they're an identical twin. Too bad the Voyager 2 probe didn't include anything about evolutionary psychology, eh? The pair stop at a petrol station, and Jenny stops in the bathroom. Starman simply tries to follow her in, and she tells him he must use the men's bathroom instead. He then follows a guy into the men's bathroom, and the guy flips him off after misinterpreting his awkward attempts at being friendly. He then discovers that Jenny has written a note about being kidnapped in the bathroom. Poor guy, he can't catch a break. In all seriousness, this kind of situation would obviously be both traumatic and perplexing for anyone, so I can't really blame Jenny for this kind of reaction. Regardless, Starman takes the note to ask Jenny what kidnapped means, so she asks him to just shoot her instead of keeping her in fear and suspense. Starman first looks as though he will follow through with this, but he puts the gun down, insisting that he means her no harm, something he learned from the home videos. This interaction serves as a breaking point in Jenny and Starman's relationship, as she really begins to trust him here. This is further emphasized by her seen sleeping next to Starman in the next shot, although he wakes her up by doing an impression of Frank Sinatra on the radio.
I want to be a part of it. New York, New York.
Not bad, not bad. Jeff Bridges has a nice baritone voice. They decide to travel to a diner for some food, and on the way there, Starman explains that he must get to Arizona in 3 days, or his pickup ride will leave him stranded on Earth and he will die. Some somber music plays in the background, and Jenny looks rather concerned by this news. It's only been about a day, but I guess he does look like Scott, so she'd probably endear to him faster. At the diner, the pair spot a dead deer attached to a hunter's car, and this upsets Starman. The hunter assumes he's soft-hearted and a foreigner, so mocks him, which just seems to confuse the alien further. Inside, Jenny tries to explain the route to Arizona, and how credit cards work in case something should happen to her. Starman asks why something should happen, and asks more about Scott, and the next part of this conversation always stuck with me.
Love is, it's when you care more for someone else than you do for yourself.
It's such an innocent exchange, with Starman earnestly wanting to learn about this aspect of humanity, but it being such a painful topic for Jenny. After starting with their food, Jenny approaches the waitress intending to leave him there, but he goes outside to revive the deer with one of those orbs. This upsets the hunter from earlier, leading to a fight between him and his group and Starman. Thankfully, Jenny scares them off with some gunfire, and the whole ordeal convinces Jenny to stick around to help him. All the while, the government are looking for Jenny and Starman, tracking them based on their number plates. The pair go to a motel for the night, and while Jenny sleeps, Starman watches TV. He comes across the romantic beach scene from the 1953 film From Here to Eternity. It's very cheesy and a bit over the top, but Starman tries to imitate it. However, his attempt is interrupted when a fellow tenant alerts him to police officers trying to break into their car to look for evidence. The goofy guy helps Starman create a distraction so he and Jenny can escape, although this just leads to a police chase. Despite Jenny's protests, Starman picks up the gun from earlier, which prompts the police to shoot her through the window. Armed with one of his special orbs, Starman crashes into a fuel tanker to create another diversion, emerging with Jenny via a dodgy 80s special effect. He later uses his second to last orb paired with True Love's kiss to revive Jenny, which is kind of him, I suppose. In the morning, Starman has already left, and Jenny calls Sherman from a truck stop. She tells him to leave Starman alone and hitches a ride with a local man to try and track down her alien friend. She arrives just in time to see the military inspecting everyone on the road, but the man assisting her creates a distraction that allows them to slip away and catch a ride with someone else. It's a bit surprising that a total stranger would risk attracting the military's attention like that, but hey, maybe he's just a nice guy. While riding in the back of a truck, Jenny explains that she would have been less upset with Starman if he had simply said goodbye. She also reveals to him, and the audience, that she is infertile. Much like everything else in the film, this is foreshadowing for later events, something that John Carpenter is pretty good at. The final leg of the couple's trip to Arizona involves sneaking into one of the carriages on a train, a scene I've seen in quite a few films, so it's not particularly surprising. They make love, and Starman reveals to Jenny that she will soon have a child. At this point, the film veers into some kind of weird Jesus allegory. I don't know, guys.
He will be human, the baby of your husband, but also he will be my baby. He will know everything I know, and when he grows to manhood, he will be a teacher.
Unfortunately, they end up in Las Vegas rather than their intended destination of Winslow, and Jenny loses her wallet. Now, this is easily the most predictable scene in the entire film. You could see it coming the moment they arrived in the big LV. Starman manages to win several jackpots, while Sherman futilely tries to convince his superiors that a vivisection is both unnecessary and cruel. Again, who's surprised? This film is starting to remind me of E.T. Sherman manages to catch up with Jenny and Starman, and after Starman answers some of his questions, he agrees to let the pair go despite his boss's orders. I'm not quite sure how to define Sherman's role in the story, perhaps a minor anti-hero? With just over 10 minutes of the film left to go, Starman and Jenny scramble across the crater to avoid the military's ammunition. Just as things look dire, a spherical UFO appears, along with a beam of light. Starman bids Jenny farewell, telling her he will never see her again. However, he gives her his final magic orb as a gift for their child before walking away into the distance. And with that, the credits roll. So, what did I think of Starman overall? While it is pretty predictable in parts, the film really has a special place in my heart. Despite its sad or more emotional moments, it's a really comforting film that always works as a pick-me-up. The effects in the film are pretty standard for a 1980s science fiction film, particularly one by John Carpenter. There aren't too many effects that particularly stand out to me, except for the scene towards the beginning of the film where Starman clones Scott as a vessel for himself. I don't know, there's something so unsettling about that face aging effect. I will say that the story beats and villains are quite superficial and predictable, as I said before. I wouldn't say that Sherman is truly evil, as he does do the right thing in the end, but he does fit into the guy doing the wrong thing for the right reasons that you actually kind of root for trope. On top of that, we have his malicious boss, George Fox, the director of the NSA, who intends to capture and vivisect Starman. His motive?
We need to get the aliens first before they get us.
It is a realistic motive, but we've had the entire 1950s sci-fi era to use it and then overuse it. I wish we had something new or at least more interesting. Fox never makes direct contact with Starman thanks to Sherman, so instead, our protagonists have to face the ultimate shallow foe in any 20th century sci-fi or action film: the military. They're just sort of this faceless enemy that's easy to dislike, especially as here they're seen as picking on the little guy. However, the actors' performances, especially Allen and Bridges, are very touching, and they seem to have a very good understanding of their characters. Allen portrays the role of a grieving, then terrified, then confused, then protective widow very well, and I can totally believe that Bridges is an alien. His mannerisms and inflection are so bizarre and unnatural, although he gradually adopts a slightly more human way of speaking as the film progresses.
I am sorry. I did awaken you.
Strange. I think I am becoming a planet Earth person.
Jeff Bridges was nominated for an Academy Award for his performance in Starman. The film's success led to a sequel in the form of a television series of the same name, which starred Robert Hayes as the Starman, who returns to Earth to visit his son and search for Jenny Hayden. I haven't seen it, and it seems to have received mixed reviews, but if you have seen it, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it in the comments. Several years ago, Free Guy director Shawn Levy announced that he intended on remaking Starman, but by 2021, the project had been pretty much abandoned. I can't really blame Levy for this, as it seems like it would be quite difficult to top the original in a unique way. To be fair, the one main gripe I have with the original is that they didn't use David Bowie's song Starman in it. The opportunity was right there. Overall, I think Starman is really one of a kind. While it can be a little cheesy and formulaic at points, it always leaves me with that warm, fuzzy feeling. It's able to balance silly humour and themes of love, loss, and hope. I would recommend it to anyone looking for a charming and quirky romance film. Well, that's all for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.
The blue and green ones are my favorite kind, but I'll eat the colored ones from time to time. Cause Polos is life, 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 Polos is life. Sleep all night and then Polos is life.